Hey, what is up, guys? So today I want to talk about Cypher and the changes that have been made to Cypher recently. It's been a couple of weeks now, actually, but I have had time to actually sit down and use Cypher quite a bit now. And I want to talk about when you should pick Cypher, when you should pick Killjoy, where Cypher is still really strong, and where Cypher now really lacks due to some of the big nerfs that they have brought into the game. Now, the biggest nerf by far that Riot did to Cypher was making it so he cannot pick up his trips and bring them to the next round if he lives. So originally, as most of you guys know, if you're playing Cypher, you used to be able to just simply pick up your tripwires if nobody tripped them at the end of the round or during the round, and then bring them over to the next round. Now, the major advantage to doing that was that it saved you money going into the next round. That was 200 or even potentially 400 if you picked up both trips that you got to save going into the next round, and 400 credits really builds up throughout the game. Now, that not being the case anymore, you just simply have to buy your utility every single round, or in certain rounds, you simply don't use his utility. For instance, if you are on a save round and you already, let's say you're on a save round and you're buying just the sheriff, you probably don't want to go ahead and put down his trips unless you really feel like you need them to hold down the site that you're holding, or you need them for flank watch. You should usually just hold on to those trips for things like save rounds, or even potentially for pistol rounds, because that utility can be used in a better place. If you're playing somebody like Phoenix and you buy your two flashes and you have your two flashes for a save round, even if you don't use those flashes, they carry on to the next round. But as Cypher, if you put them down and then the other team goes to the complete opposite site, you essentially just wasted 400 credits that round. And overall, I think it was a good change to Cypher, but at the same time, it is something that you need to keep an eye on, and you need to keep an eye on your money. No longer do you have to make sure that you have 3,900 for the next round to buy a gun and full armor. You have to make sure that you have, what would it be, 4,600 or something roughly around there, doing the math in my head, being able to pick up buy both of his trips and buy both of his cages. So what, right there, that's 600 credits on top of what you already need. So you need 4,500, not 3,900. But in any case, with all of this being changed, he is still a very good agent and a very important agent to have. Me personally, I have always preferred Cypher over Killjoy, both on holding a site and for flank watch. Originally, Killjoy was a little better at holding flanks because her turret was so powerful, but now, considering she has to be close to her turret, it doesn't really work for flank watch in the same way. So especially if you're playing a map like Haven when you're on offense, it's much more advantageous to have a Cypher on your team than a Killjoy on your team, because you can put a tripwire on the A flank and the C flank versus having Killjoy put her turret back there and then have to have Killjoy somewhere near the back of the map to make sure that her turret works. So overall, when it comes to flank watch, Cypher is just immediately a better agent to have on your team. Now, the thing with playing Cypher in competitive is, or any agent like that, whether it be Cypher, Killjoy, Sage, anytime you're playing a Sentinel or a support role, you need good teammates. If you are solo queuing and you are picking Cypher, you are helping your team out tremendously, but it is very difficult for you to carry your team when you're playing an agent like Cypher. Now, the gameplay in the background right now is a 19-2 game that I had with Cypher, where my team was doing really well, and I was supplementing them even more by playing well as Cypher, holding down B site every single round on defense, not letting them take B site once the entire game, and holding down my site, and as well as retaking. You know, my aim was on point. We were playing really well, and so this was a super easy win for our team, especially considering we started on defense. So, you know, naturally, Cypher's going to be a better agent on defense than offense. It's what he's geared towards. So being that we had me and Reyna both playing B site and holding B site down really well, us being able to rotate over to A very quickly while still having my camera on B in case they tried to rotate, it made it a very, very easy game, again, because we were winning our gunfights and we were holding our sites. Now, if you take this exact same game, but without my teammates playing well, it would have been a completely different story. And that's just something that you have to deal with if you're going to play Cypher or Killjoy or Sage, is if your duelists and your initiators are not doing their job properly, you're going to have a really, really hard time. And the same thing could be said vice versa if you are playing a duelist and your sentinels aren't holding sites very well. You know, of course, this is a team game. You need your teammates. In certain scenarios, you can, especially at lower ranks, just absolutely carry your team, go 30-3, and win the game despite how bad your teammates are doing. But 9 times out of 10, you need your teammates to at least be doing something to be able to win your games. That being said, some tips for playing Cypher, and if you are going to start playing Cypher or Killjoy or Sage more, I'm especially talking about Cypher here, excuse me, is when you are holding your site, you need to not rotate too early. Your job is to hold the site that you are holding. In this scenario, I was holding B site every single round, and the only time that I rotated over to A site was when I knew that they were committing to A site, and I knew that, you know, we didn't need me over at B site. But as soon as I rotate to A and then they push B, I'm essentially, me being Cypher is essentially useless. Because despite my camera, despite my trips, my cages, whatever, being on B site, if I am not there to play off of them, or at least somebody on my team is not there to play off of them, they're completely pointless. So that being said, again, don't rotate off of your site. Even if your teammates are yelling and screaming at you that you need to rotate, you know, that the other team's pushing A site, if you are not sure that they are fully committing to that other site, you do not rotate. You also do not play aggressively if you are someone like Cypher or Killjoy or Sage. Your job is to hold the site. Sometimes you can get away with playing a little more aggressive and peeking. You know, in this game, towards the end especially, I was peeking a lot more than I probably should have, but it worked out for the simple fact that I was winning my gunfights. You know, our team just in general had better aim, it seemed like, than the other team, even though this was a high plat, you know, diamond game. We were just all doing really, really well. So you want to make sure that you're not playing too aggressive, that you're holding your site well, you're playing in angles that you are going to be able to benefit off of. And then when it comes to offense, once you switch over to the offensive side of things, number one, your main job is to have your trips down and your trips placed properly to watch the flank. Every single map every single map in Valorant, Cypher's trips can be used to hold flanks, and his flanks are super important, and his job is super important to not die. As soon as Cypher dies, his trips go away, and that flank watch is no longer there. So you need to be playing more passive and let your duelists and your initiators push in first, and then you be there to help them out. You don't want to sit super far back and bait your teammates, but you do want to be there to push in with them, but also play passive, if that makes any sense. It's something that you have to get used to. It's something that you have to get good at, but once you get it down and you start playing Cypher and Killjoy and Sage more often, you'll get the hang of it, and Cypher can become excuse me. Cypher can become an extremely integral part of your team. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'd appreciate it if you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, and y'all take it easy.
don't have drone. Nothing close left anyways.
Cage triggered. Enemy down.
One enemy remaining.
Oh, let me get the last one. Let me be 20 and 2.
Okay, I'm
Let me get it. Let me get it.
Flawless.
Oh,
Attackers win.
Hey man.
no 10 KD from me.
Oh, I went negative.